Good very day. Thank you all so much for joining me. It is what is it right now? Um it is 1:01 p.m. and in just any moment now, Trump is expected to arrive back in the courthouse. It is unknown if he is going to speak to the press. If he does, you have it right there. Let me point. You have it right there on your screen. We'll take it. We'll take you there live. Let me turn that volume back on for you guys. Turn it down just a little bit here. We'll be listening into that, but this is our special coverage of Trump on trial as he is in the courtroom. We are calling it Trump in the courtroom. I have to correct myself there. We have so very much to get to happening in just a few moments inside the courthouse. Charge conference. That is where the jury does not have to be present, but it is. I want to read you exactly what it is here as we welcome you into our coverage. I'm Jackson Mitchell. Thank you so much for joining me on this May 21st. I want to talk to you a little bit about what it is. Before closing arguments, a trial judge must conduct a conference here, and I'm reading from some papers here that I found while we had that long break from about 9 late in the 9 o'clock hour this morning Central Standard Time to 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. This definition here that I have in my hand states, quote, before closing arguments, a trial judge must conduct a conference to discuss proposed instructions out of the presence of the jury. Now, I apologize that music is continuing to have some troubles turning on. We'll just turn it off there for you guys. Out of the presence of the jury, the charge conference must be recorded. The purpose of the charge conference is to allow the parties to discuss the proposed jury instructions to ensure that the legal issues are appropriately clarified and the proposed are appropriately clarified in a manner that assists the jury in understanding the case and in reaching the correct verdict manner that assists. Oh my God, I'm having trouble deciding where the lines are. Okay. Verdict be in position to argue the facts in light of the law to be charged to the jury. The failure to do so is reviewable on appeal, even in the absence of an objection at trial. That's right. So we also have our studio cam over there. We can take it. I'm not over there, so no one's over there. But that's our studio cam. We'll definitely be going over to the studio in a few moments. I have some other documents that we're going to be discussing throughout the live video because earlier in the morning I was like, okay, I want to discuss these, but when do I do it? And then I was like, okay, let's do it now. Let's do it in the afternoon because I was expecting it to be a full day, depending on how many witnesses and what the court ultimately decided to do. I knew we weren't going to see anything crazy because Judge Walmer-Shawn already said that the closing arguments and deliberations were going to be next week. To clarify here, closing arguments, I should clarify there, are going to begin on Tuesday, according to Judge Walmer-Shawn there. And right now, they just have to finish some other legal work to completely finish and correct this. I'm going to move over to the studio, though, so if you'll come with me here, we'll leave you on the Trump courtroom there, that shot there. I'm going to come back over here to our studio, as I'm calling it, our makeshift studio, because it's literally, I have a desk in my living room. If y'all could see the amount of wires that goes into all of this, you would be laughing. You would be laughing at how bad this looks. But welcome in, everyone. Okay, I believe we can take our studio camera now. There we are. Okay. I apologize. It appears to be very laggy, and I'm not sure how to work with that. We may just be audio only when we're here in the studio. So there's the what we're calling the big screen. We're doing a little bit things differently, so we're calling it the big screen now instead of the big board. It's the big screen. We'll be using it much more often, especially when it comes to election night. I do also want to note who is all going to be there later today now, or not later today, but was there today and expected to be here later today. John Trump Jr., the son of Donald Trump, Matt Whitaker, the former acting attorney general, Pam Bondi, Senator Eric Schmidt, Representative Daniel Webster, Representative Daniel Muser, Representative Ronnie Jackson, Representative Troy Nell, Representative Dale Strong, Representative Maria Salazar, Representative, I'm sorry, not Representative, but Sebastian Gorka, Chuck Zito, Joe Piscopo, and Bill White are all going to be there. And they held a press conference a little bit earlier today, soon after they took a break, and now we're just going to come back in just a moment. They held a press conference talking about the case, and I believe we have video of it that we can show. We do. Okay, we're going to take that now.
What's going on here is an absolute farce, and anyone in America should be embarrassed at the absolute miscarriage of justice that we're seeing here. There's no crime. The only problem is the witnesses who are experts in these things aren't allowed to actually testify to that because you have a rigged system.
Equal protection under the law is a most fundamental bedrock constitutional principle of American jurisprudence. What I just saw in this courtroom is a complete miscarriage of justice. We cannot have judges who are wearing the same jersey as the prosecution.
And that was just a piece of what was said earlier today in that press conference. Sorry, I have a keyboard and mouse here because that's how I'm controlling my computer that's far over there. I moved during that break because I realized I didn't want to be standing over there. But this is Trump's criminal hush money trial, and it appears is Trump is walking in. Let's see if he's going to talk to us. It appears he is. Let's listen in.
Feel very good. I think we have a great case was put on. There is no crime. In fact, I just got almost every review that's been done of the case so far. And as they say, there is no crime. This should have never been brought. It should be dismissed before you even have a verdict. But we have a judge that's extremely, let's say complicated, but let's also say conflicted. He's complicated and conflicted. And it's a very strange situation. Nobody's ever seen anything quite like it. But we have a situation where we have no crime. And this next couple of hours is very important because the judge can try and manufacture one where he goes from a misdemeanor, which doesn't exist because of the statute of limitations. It doesn't exist, absolutely. And they try and bring it into a felony, but you can't do it because they haven't been able to prove it. And you see what's happened there with the border. Remember, I'm gagged. I'm not allowed to say what I'd like to really say because you'd be very impressed. But I'm gagged, so why would I take the chance? But we do want to defend our Constitution, so at some point maybe I will take the chance. It's a very serious situation when a Republican nominee for president, the Republican nominee, somebody that won easily and quickly in record time, gets number one gagged, and number two is before a Democrat-appointed judge, and you're playing with fire like this. It's very sad. But the good news is they've not proven a case. There is no crime. Now, you're going to read all of these experts, and you know the ones that have to go over their names again, but all experts, legal scholars, talented people, very smart people, and there is no crime. So maybe they'll try and devise one right now. The judge will help them out because the judge has been very helpful to the other side. And that should never be. That should never be in our country. Now, on another note, Biden is releasing 1 million barrels of oil from the Northeast Reserve in a bid to lower prices at the pump just before the election because he's unable to drill properly. So, and he's destroyed everything we had. We were energy independent. We were shortly going to be energy dominant. And now he has to go into what's called the strategic reserves to give oil and gasoline essentially for cars, so they don't have to go up to $7, $8, $9 a barrel. By the way, if he ever got in again, you would be paying more than $10 a barrel. You better hope he doesn't get elected, those that drive cars. And by the way, and everybody else in our country. So this is a big story. Just came out. He's releasing 1 million barrels of oil and the strategic reserves. He's been doing this to keep the prices down, but the prices are now higher than they've been in a long time. They're very high. And so he's trying to stop that because high gasoline prices are not good for elections if you're on his side of it. But nothing he's done has been good for elections. Everything he's done has been very bad for our country. And the border, I don't know if you've seen, but the border, record numbers of people from prisons, from jails, from mental institutions, terrorists. Record numbers of people are pouring into our country. Numbers like we've never seen before are pouring in. We have an incompetent president, and we have to win. And as I've said, November 5th, the most important day in the history of our country. Thank you very much, everybody.
So why did you decide against testifying in your case? Did you not want to take a stand?
Are you nervous about a conviction?
Okay, we always want to just sit there for just a second and listen in, just in case anything more does come out of that. We are going to. Not sure if you guys can hear me. Please stand by. I'm not sure here. I'm not sure if you guys can hear me. Okay. You guys can. Okay, good. That was stressing me out for just a second. Okay, back in front of the big board here. So I'll take a look at my program monitor over there. Make sure we heard everything good. So the few squeaks there were. That was Trump just now speaking outside the courtroom there for just a minute. And oftentimes, the way to recognize that he is soon to come out is by where the gates are positioned. And I'm going to say something else I noticed in just a second. One moment, that is really loud in my ear. We're gonna talk about those gates are moved, and you'll see they'll say lockdown, and then an officer will come around, pull one of the gates open, meaning like if we were standing where the cameras are, we cannot walk all the way forward. Where like now we can, you'll notice, and that's how we usually know that the president is fixing to come in. Now what we're waiting for right now is at about 1:15 here, 2:15 Eastern time, they're going to begin here. We're going to be standing here all night throughout the evening, depending on how long this ends up going, and they'll begin the charge conference. Now, as I said at the beginning of our coverage, I want to reinstate what a charge conference is. A charge conference is before closing arguments. A trial judge must conduct a conference to discuss proposed instructions out of the presence of the jury. The charge conference must be recorded, and that's why the media and everyone else is allowed in. The purpose, the charge conference must be recorded. The purpose of the charge conference is to allow the parties to discuss the proposed jury instructions to ensure that the legal issues are appropriately clarified in a manner that assists the jury in understanding the case and in reaching the correct verdict, as well as, quote, to enable counsel to know what instructions will be given so that counsel will be in the position to argue the facts in light of the law to be charged to the jury. The failure to do so could lead in a proper appeal being done. And also, as we wait here, and I keep having to leave the camera when I'm trying to get something done. Okay, there we go. We got it fixed. Sorry, I was trying to get something fixed on way over there. So you can't even see me. Way over there. Let me see if I can. And we've already showed you guys a bunch of footage from today, including one quick video we showed you guys earlier from, I believe it was from the press conference we showed you a clip earlier from a press conference with a bunch of the people who were attending today's Trump trial. I want to re-ramp around. I'm going to have to mute that. Sorry, guys. It's blasting in my ear, and I already have it turned down. So I don't know if you guys can hear me over that. But you see at the bottom the Trump guest list that attended earlier this morning, but are also expected to attend later here. I'll read some of the names from that list there. Donald Trump Jr., Trump's son, Matt Whitaker, Pam Bondi, Senator Eric Schmidt, Representative Daniel Webster, Representative Dan Musier, Representative Ronnie Jackson, Representative Troy Niels, Representative Dale Strong, Representative Maria Salazar, and that list continues. That's Trump's guest list per his campaign as they walk into court. No new updates, I don't believe so far. If they have began or has just Rashawn taken the bench just yet. We have no new updates there. But I want to take a clip. I believe we have and can take it here in just a second. Let's take a clip here where Donald Trump Jr. and former acting Attorney General Matt Whitaker say a few comments.
What's going on here is an absolute farce, and anyone in America should be embarrassed at the absolute miscarriage of justice that we're seeing here. There's no crime. The only problem is the witnesses who are experts in these things aren't allowed to actually testify to that because you have a rigged system.
Equal protection under the law is a most fundamental, bedrock constitutional principle of American jurisprudence. What I just saw in this courtroom is a complete miscarriage of justice. We cannot have judges who are wearing the same jersey as the prosecution.
Apologies about that. I am back though with more coverage. Okay. Okay, what happened here is okay, apologies for the delay. The press was held up during Trump's holiday remarks, so I only just got back in the courtroom in media reservation. Bove is up now for the defense, arguing about the dangers of conflating civil and criminal charges, as far as I can tell. Okay, that's what someone said. Okay. Bove now reiterating his objection to bumping up a criminal conspiracy charge using a civil object. He says, bottom line argument for a conspiracy to be criminal, you need a criminal object. Okay, now what we have going on. Mershon asked about falsifying business records in the first degree, which requires intent to defraud. That includes intent to commit another crime. Colangelo says the statute could have said criminal means, but it didn't. It says unlawful means. I also want to see if I can lower my camera here just a little bit. So I'm going to be reloading here on my phone in front of me constantly, I figure, throughout this whole entire thing. And I also need to be, I'm going to be here on my notepad. One moment, y'all. Okay. So right now they're talking about, I guess, the charges that the jury could decide on. Because Rashawn, the last update we have is Rashawn asked about falsifying business records in the first degree. Okay, new update. So now they are okay. So this is not now, but this is they're reviewing the proposed jury instructions, and the judge is hearing oral arguments over the ones that are in dispute. And then the court will decide on what will be the final version that will be released to the jury. And as I explained earlier, I have jury instructions. I believe it's over here. Maybe hold up. A lot of papers. Not this one. I see it. Jury instructions right here. Basically, this is a charge conference, is what's referred to as. And basically, it just decides the legal arguments that the jury can argue over, is what it sounds like to me. I may be incorrect with that by saying that, but I'll read it to you so you can make your own opinion on it. I'll just read this. The charge conference must be recorded. The purpose of the charge conference is to allow is to allow the parties to discuss the proposed jury instructions to ensure that the legal issues are appropriately clarified in a manner that assists the jury in understanding the case and in reaching the correct verdict, as well as to enable counsel to know what instructions will be given so that counsel will be in a position to argue the facts in light. It gives the jury a background on what is going on, what is falsifying business records. It gives them what is falsifying business records, and has the prosecution argued correctly in that? That is the question. So we're figuring that out, and we have a new update, I do believe. So okay. Okay, the problem is that the mens rea or the predicate has to match the highest mens mens rea of the objects. That's black letter law, says Bob. Otherwise, you just have a civil conspiracy that can't be used to elevate. Merchant nods his head understandingly and thanks him. We move on. Another line in the instructions, defense wants to include language that in 2015-16, there was no limit for a candidate's own contribution to their campaign. Colangelo says it's extraneous and totally irrelevant for the facts of the case. So as I'm saying, it's basically putting out the facts of the case. It's putting out the facts of the case plus the law, and just giving them instructions on what they're going to be doing. What are the possible charges that they can? Oh, my phone fell. What are they saying? Not guilty, guilty to, and what can they? What can they decide? What are their decisions? What can they do? That is what this is doing. So, but I believe if you'll stand by with me here, I think we're going to sneak in a quick break if we can. If everyone would just stand by with us, we are going to, I believe, sneak in a quick break in just a moment here. If we have, let me check on updates. Okay. Okay, just to be clear, Marshawn says he's reversing judgment on the willfully issue, but on this current issue, the campaign contribution limits issue, he's going to strike it. Defense is free to argue it on summation, but he'll keep it out. So he's going to be keeping out what the prosecution wanted, which is in 2015, 2016, there was no limit for a candidate's own contribution to their campaign. But we are going to sneak in a quick break right here on Brooklyn News. And when we return, we will have more updates from our sources inside the courtroom and so much more. I'm Jackson Mitchell. We will be right back. Welcome back to our coverage. A little bit of a technical difficulty there. We have to fix some things. But welcome into our coverage. We are going to be following this all day. You are watching Brooklyn News' coverage of Trump in the courtroom. This is our Tuesday continued version. Yeah, I know I made a mistake. We're working on that to get that fixed for all of you. And that's why our break was a little bit extended, because that's when I noticed it. You guys would have told me, but let's go to the latest update inside the courtroom. The next dispute right now is more FECA, which is the Federal Election Commissions Act instructions that are happening right now in the courtroom. Sorry, guys, just gotta adjust that really quickly. Which are happening right now. That's too far. Which are happening right now inside that courtroom. How to define contribution and other terms. Emil Bowe for the defense says he wants to make clear to the jury that there's a zone of 1A protected activity. Colangelo for the prosecution argues that this is not accurate statement of the law and is in any event is irrelevant. Merchant sums up that the prosecution wants this paragraph. Let me read this here. The terms contribution and expenditure include anything of value, including any purchase of payment, loan, or advance made by any person to influence the election. To influence the election to any federal office period. The judge seems to agree, according to a court reporter inside there. And I'm going to need to do something here. Hopefully we don't lose anything.
Apologies about that. We are having a few technical difficulties here. I'm going to work to get them back. If you guys will stand by with us, we are going to take one more break on this messed up graphic. We'll be right back here on Brooklyn News.
And I believe we are back. One moment. There we go. Are we back? Okay. Apologies about those small technical difficulties there. We're not really small, but welcome to the world of producing, editing, and doing this all on your own. But I'm Jax Mitchell. Welcome into our continue our coverage of Trump in the courtroom. I need to step away for just a few moments and fix an issue. So if you'll stand by with me and we can go over to the courtroom, I do believe so. We will go over there. That is right outside the courtroom where a lot is going on today. Happening right now is what they are calling a charge conference. You're looking at the courtroom there. Just trying to fix an issue here. A charge conference is before closing arguments when they basically decide what the jury instructions are. Now, right now, the judge does seem to agree to an argument over the prosecution wanting terms in a paragraph about contribution and expenditure. It's a bit difficult to follow, according to one reporter. For some reason, each side's proposed jury instructions are not yet available on the public docket, so we can't follow along with anything as we go. Okay, so when they're on the public docket, we will review those for our own eyes right here and listen to some of the arguments that they're making in court. I do and am fixing an issue that's going on right now on your on our YouTube page right now. And then in that slideshow that you were viewing on your screen. So we are going to be fixing, or we're viewing on your screen there. We are going to be fixing some issues here as we get fired up. So we are waiting for this to be on the public docket as we were just listening to their courtroom reporter saying the exact same thing. This is not yet available on the court docket, and we are waiting for it to be available. As you hear that music, you're watching Trump in the courtroom. We are going to take a quick 30-second break. When we return, more on everything that's going on in this whole entire confusing mumble jumble of some arguments. I'm going to call it that because it is kind of confusing to read through some things that are going on. We're going to have so much more and so many more updates when we return. Brooklyn News will be right back, right here on Brooklyn News. Welcome back to our coverage right here on Brooklyn News. Thanks for sticking with us. We are fixing some technical difficulties really, really quickly here. I've got to do just a few more things here. You can see I fixed it on the big board, on the big screen though. You can see it does say Tuesday continued instead of Monday continued. According to courtroom reporters happening right now, more FEC. I'm sorry, hold up. We're discussing a few more lines the defense wants in, including, quote, legal expenses are not campaign related. This relates to the Federal Election Commission Act violation, I believe, are applied in practice, especially since Justice Rashad limited their expert witnesses' potential testimony. We are awaiting right now to see what exactly the jury instructions do end up being, and we're waiting to get those actually put on the docket. And according to reporters, it's still not on the docket, and it's apparently a nuisance to follow it in court. I mean, we're trying our best out here, but updates are not coming every so few seconds, every so few minutes, I should say. I should correct myself there. So we are working on that. I believe we're also going to be getting we do have a corrected graphic that we are able to show you. There you go, Tuesday continued. A corrected graphic, and then we will be able to put our music behind it. Because you are watching Trump in the courtroom coverage. We're so very happy that you are joining us. I am Jackson Mitchell. I'm able to go back over to the big board here, back over to the screen in front of the camera. I'm sure you're going to get tired of that song by the end of the day. There are so many, sorry guys, there are so many Trump that are wrong and right, so we have to get that out of our way, but we are going to continue our coverage right now here on Brooklyn News. Thank you all so much for joining me. It's so very pleasure to be here with you all, that I have the equipment, that I have the devices to be here with you. Barely, but functional in a way. So right now, Merchant reserves decision, but he's inclined to remove examples and include both sides of sentences. He's talking about the decision that the Federal Election Commission Act violation could not be used to influence the juror's decision on whether Trump is guilty or not guilty. So we are now moving on to press exemption. Both request adding legitimate press function is a broad concept. For example, solicitation letter seeking new subscribers to a publication. Merchant says he does not have a problem with that, but is inclined to strike the line legitimate press function is a broad concept. Reasonable point, in my knowledge, striking that, but that is correct behind me now, Tuesday. And we shouldn't be taking any more breaks for a little bit here. We're able to stick with you. But we are going to be taking more breaks than we did in our first time because we're finally able to. We finally have stuff. I have a graphic to put over it so we can. But updates are coming in every few minutes. We are waiting for this to be available. Oh, my phone goes again. We are waiting for this to be available on the dock, and I was wondering why the TV behind me was loading. One moment. Oh, technology. I am tech savvy, and I will consider myself tech savvy. But when it comes to just like things popping up and me accidentally clicking a button, yeah, no. And certain just different things. I mean, I would live stream this all by myself. A lot of people would not be able to, but I am. So, okay. Let me check for any more updates here. No more updates coming in right now. I really want the jury, I think the final versions will at least be available, but I wish we were able to view through at least the draft version of what we're going to be seeing. And then we will definitely be able to view the final version again. And we may come on tomorrow and do that just by ourselves, depending on what we see, what happens, what goes through. But right now, for anyone just joining us, we are in the jury charging type of situation. It's where basically they're making instructions for the jurors. They're basically compiling everything and all the rules together and saying, okay, this is what you can decide on. You can't do this. New update here. Bove says that, quote, normal legitimate press function is an extremely broad concept as interpreted by the FEC, the Federal Election Commission, and that they proposed and attenuated example in order to stay away from the facts of this case. Okay, so they're saying, I think what Judge Rashawn is inferring here, and just in this small piece here, is just basically saying stick to the facts. And I think you're saying, it's just saying that's not directly. You're making an assumption about the press, and not maybe sticking directly to the facts of the case. Continuing to wait for more updates to come in. If you could, I'll show you guys my setup. I'll raise it up here. So I have a keyboard, mouse, some notes, and then my phone right here that's hanging off. That's why it keeps falling. But I'm gonna keep it here. I believe we have a new update though. Okay, let's talk about something really quickly. Why we should be able to see this right now? It kind of messes it up because apparently inside the court, Judge Juan Merchan just said, "quote I'm going to insert the people's sentence and their last sentences, and I'm going to remove the examples." That's very vague to us. Like we don't. No one knows what that means, but the defense and the prosecution. So I assume they're going to be making the draft available. I mean, they have to. We can't see what's going on in the draft. Deliberations, the draft, not deliberations, I apologize, but the jury charges. I really do want to see them though and go through. I'm sure it's a lot to go through, but I would love to. Okay, now we are moving. The defense wants a broader definition. There's evidence in the record that AMI wanted to resolve these things and move on. Bove says, noting that AMI published articles by Karen McDougal pursuant to their agreement. Okay, so I think that's key, important to the fact we're just talking about. He used this. I'll scroll down here. He Bove says that, quote, normal legitimate press function. That's what he referred to it as, and he was talking about AMI. Now we're going on to accomplice as a matter of law, and that's what he ended up ruling that what I just read. I'm going to enter the people's sentence in their last sentence, and I'm going to remove the examples. That's what he ruled on that one. Now we are moving to next issue, accomplice as a matter of law. Defense requests that the phrase, quote, participated in crime be used in the prosecution. Requests participated and was convicted of. We'll see what they do there. Okay. So on that issue of accomplice as a matter of law, defense requests that the phrase, quote, participated in a crime be used, and the prosecution requests, quote, participation in and was convicted of. So Merchant says, we're, quote, playing with fire, with prosecutions wish to include their language and to mention Cohen. He's worried that because he was convicted, that because he pled guilty, the jury will draw an inference as to Trump's guilt or innocence. Valid point. Valid point. I think that's a valid point. As in, I think that's why he ended up ruling that the Federal Election Commission act of violation, because he's such a highly needed and key witness in this case. I do very much believe so. He's very needed in this case, but it's that. But it's also the fact that they like how to word this. The prosecution needs him, so I really the defense does. He literally tells almost the entire story, minus Karen McDougal and Stormy Daniels, tells the entire story. So I think what Justice Rashawn ruled on was basically don't use the federal the FECA. I think that's how they refer to it, as the Federal Election Commission Act violation against him. And I very much do think they have a point. We are also, this is Trump in the courtroom. Now, I do believe this is Tuesday, day 20, as I corrected myself there. And we are watching this all behind me. You can see inside that, or outside, right outside the courtroom. Nothing too interesting going on. It's actually much quieter. And you can also see the afternoon shift people, rather than the morning shift people that are in there early in the morning when we're all up covering this all. So I think that's cool to see. Waiting for any update, and I do believe as we wait for any update, we are going to take a quick break. You are watching Trump in the courtroom Tuesday with our continuing coverage. I'm Jackson Mitchell. When we come back, we are going to have more updates about it all. Right now, Merchant says, quote, we're playing with fire with the prosecution's wish to include language mentioning Cohen, and that he's worried because he was convicted, that because he pled guilty, the jury will draw an interference, which is why he ruled for the FECA violation, which is the Federal Election Commissions Act. That it could possibly interfere there in change, but we are going to, I believe so, if we can, take a quick break. We will be right back here on Brooklyn News. And welcome back to our continuing coverage of Trump in the courtroom. I am Jackson Mitchell, and I'm joining you with that continuing coverage. We are going to stick with the facts and analysts, of course. Happening right now. Let me scroll down here on my updates. Accomplice as a matter of law. The defense requests that the phrase, quote, participated in a crime be, end quote, used, and the prosecution requests, quote, participated and was convicted in a crime be used. They're talking about Michael Cohen there. Merchant says, we're, quote, playing with fire with prosecution's wish to include their language and to mention Cohen. He's worried that because he was convicted, that because he pled guilty, the jury will draw an interference as to Trump's guilt or innocence. We're coming up with new updates right now. I do believe so. Merchant is now turning to, quote, the most challenging issue facing all of us, and that's how you pronounce the word eleemosynary, which means charitable. Getting a laugh from both sides, a rare moment of levity, he suggests avoiding the problem altogether and strikes it without objection. Wow. Well, the biggest problem we've all been facing, I do believe so also. Judge Juan Merchan was very right about that. The most challenging issue facing all of us is how to say eleemosynary. That's my best guess there. At least we're having some fun in the courtroom. I will say that. At least it's not too just boring and lackluster. As sometimes I think we experience it. Sorry, I had to go grab a drink of water during that break. Okay. And happening right now, and I want to get my definition paper, so I'm gonna step out of frame here and go grab it. I want to give you guys a specific and correct definition here. So, give me just a moment. Let me get back seated here. Okay. So the charge conference, and you can see here in my papers that I'm showing you guys right now. There's a charge conference, and read off to you guys here. Before closing argument, a trial judge must conduct a conference to discuss proposed instructions out of the presence of the jury. That's what we are seeing right now. We are seeing instructions that were proposed to be discussed in some different things because it has to be equal to what the defense and the prosecution both want. Right now, we are continuing to nothing too much is really going on right now. That is, and there has been no new updates since the last thing I did provide you, which was Judge Palmer saying, quote, the most challenging issue facing all of us, and that's how you pronounce this word, eleemosynary. I want to spell it out to you guys, or I wish I could. I don't know if you guys can see that, if it'll even focus. But you actually can't. It's eleemosynary. It's right there in the middle. I wonder if I can. One moment. I'm going to screenshot here and see if I can. Okay, we moved on to something else here, but before I move on to something else. Eleemosynary. That is how that word is spelled. ELEEMOSYNIRY. That is how that word is spelled. So we're going to see that. And I'm enjoying this camera. I am enjoying this camera working out perfectly for me. We have now turned to we are on intent to defraud, the defense definition, which we haven't been able to review yet, is what someone inside there, meaning they have not been able to review on the docket yet. The draft versions of this relies on practice commentary, while the prosecution wants the standard language. Merchan says we're going to stick with the standard language. Okay, so Merchan ruling they're going to stick with the standard language rather than anything any more complex. Now we're on causation or causation. Let me look up that word here and how it relates to assessing real liability. Quote: I don't like the reason. Oh my God, reasonably foreseeable language, as Rashawn says, and I believe they are talking about the what to use. I'm trying to figure out what they're talking about here. The definition, which for the defense, which we have not been able to review yet. So they're talking about a definition on sorry, let me read this again, on the intent to defraud. The prosecution wants to stick with the standard language, but we cannot see that definition, so I'm unable to report to you guys what that definition may be. Okay, Colangelo for the prosecution says, we think that, quote, made or cause is a critical concept. The reasonable foreseeable language is drawn directly from the case law we cited. We think it's a critical instruction for the jury. And if I step out of frame here, you're also able to see. Just let me step out of frame here. That is right now happening right there at the court. There, I'm sure we're gonna be watching it so much more often. What's going on there at the courthouse? That is right outside. If you turn, I guess, hold up, let me show you. Let me move my stuff back over here. So Trump walks up here. He'll walk up to these gates, and they close that one, and they move it out so no one can walk towards him. And then he walks back through and goes through that hallway right there. That's a little bit out of frame, so that's how that all works. And then we also have this other graphic that I believe we're able to also to show you. Trump in court, but we'll stick with this for now. No new updates coming from them just yet. And as I said, we're going to continue to take breaks. And I feel like I'm taking breaks very often, but I'm just going to be taking a very short 30-second break really quickly. We'll be right back here on Brooklyn News. We are so glad that you are joining us through our coverage of all of this. You are watching Trump in the courtroom right here on Brooklyn News. I'm Jackson Mitchell. So many more updates and so much more to come out of the developing jury instructions or charge instructions, as they're often referred to as. We'll be right back here on Brooklyn News. I'm Jackson Mitchell. And welcome back. We've got a view at so much different things going on. I believe we have to have hold on. A view at so much that's going on here on this Tuesday version of our Tuesday continuing version of our Trump in the courtroom coverage. I'm Jackson Mitchell. Take a look now in the frame as I step out. You're able to see there a look at the courtroom. And if you'll also stand by with me, I should be able to, as I walk you back here into frame, I should be able to also get you all a view. Yes, there we go. Should be able to do it. There we go. Minus one thing here, but you can see there. inside, right outside the courtroom, and then right behind me here is also the courtroom. So we are watching that all, of course, too, right outside that courtroom, wherein I'm sure after the day ends, Trump is going to speak. We will be bringing that to you live. We have been live now for already 1 hour and 5 minutes. Time flies by when we're receiving continuous updates and reading continuous information to you all. We do have a new update. What is going on right now? Okay, we're talking about the general language, or the legal language, which the defense wants the legal language, and the prosecution wants the standard language on the intent to defraud, the definition of the intent to defraud. We have not seen the defense definition, but according to our knowledge, you're using a little more of a complex, is what it sounds like, according to the if I can get my words out, according to the prosecution here, Judge Merchan has reserved his decision, though, in sticking with the standard language. But right now, my language is to strike the, quote, reasonably foreseeable language from the jury charges. That is the language they use, and the prosecution wanted to use language like made or caused, rather than reasonably foreseeable. So we are watching that all, and let me cut this piece off here. Don't want it to get too annoying, because you're going to have to hear it every time we go on ad breaks. We are standing by, of course, on literally everything. For new updates, for Trump to speak later, we are waiting on all of it. And we'll bring you live coverage when it occurs. Merchan, again, reserving his decisions. We were just providing an update there for you of what was going on. You'll also notice something else behind me, is that this is delayed. Womp womp, as some people would say. It is a little bit delayed. I apologize. I'm really not sure how to fix it. So we're just going to stick with it. We are waiting, though, for more information to come. So we started over an argument over Federal Election Commission Act, and we've had continuous arguments over the Federal Election Commission Act. And I also want to put in, if we can, a lower third. Sorry, I'm just working to put in a lower third here. I think we have a new update. I do believe so. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna redo the little bit. And I'm so happy that this camera functions correctly. I'm able to focus on my phone. But we're gonna go now to Rashawn. A little bit of a transcript here. Rashawn, turning to the expanded charge of intent, why do you being the prosecution, the people, propose that? Colangelo, no one said Trump went into the system and falsified the billing records. So on facts like the ones we have here, and given the way the parties have argued the case, we think it is a very straightforward explanation of the law. Merchan, people have the burden of proving beyond the reasonable doubt. It goes on to say it doesn't matter what the relative contribution was to the crime of each of the defendants. Colangelo, there is a threshold definition to understand. Reasonably foreseeable conduct. Rashawn, I will reserve a decision on that. Rashawn, right now my inclination is to strike the language from the final charges. Okay. According to court reporters, what it sounds like is that even though he's reserving his decision, and he has done on multiple things now, including the Federal Election Commission Act violation, and a bunch of things of that nature, which we are seeing the jury charge conference happening now with spelling error. One moment, everyone. Please stand by with me. Even though he's reserving his decision on most things, according to court reporters, he's either sounding as if he's leaning on one side or the other. And one thing about there not being cameras in the court, we have to go off reporters in the court. It does make it quite hard for us to be able to understand a little bit of what's going on, as to the fact of like emotions, voice. So a lot of explaining words are having to be used by court reporters. So right now we are going to take a break, I do believe so, once again as we continue to wait for any updates to come out of the case that accuses the President of the United States, or should I say former President of the United States, Donald Trump, of 34 counts of falsifying business records as the jury charge conference continues to happen. You're watching Brooklyn News. I'm Jackson Mitchell. And welcome back to our continuing coverage of Trump inside the courtroom. This is Tuesday, the continued version. After a little bit of a break earlier today, as now we are seeing right now the jury charge conference. We are continuing to receive updates from reporters inside the courtroom. Now, the draft versions, not the complete versions of the jury instructions or the jury charge instructions, have yet to be provided on the docket, so it's a little bit hard at times to understand exactly what is going on happening now. We still okay, no really new updates here. We saw no really new updates right now. The last thing we knew what was going on was he was reserving his decision on language of reasonably. He was going to strike reasonably foreseeable language from the jury charge instructions and use. He was just going to strike those. I don't know if he announced what words he was going to use, but he was siding with the prosecution in that one. By reserving his decision there. So again, the jury charge conference, being when they basically make instructions for the jury, and we are waiting to see exactly what happens on all of this as we are continuing to watch. One second, as we are continuing to watch Trump in the courtroom. This is our Tuesday consecutive version, as I was explaining right before we went to the break. I'll let you step out of the frame here because I'm gonna go change something really quickly. It's good about being in the big screen. I can step out of the frame. And we have a lot going on, by the way, guys. We are able to view pretty much a lot. We're pretty much able to view everything out there in that teams are viewing. Except, I'm sorry, we're basically able to view everything on the docket if we need to. Right now, I don't have anything specific that I'm reading off the docket right now, but I will have to say this is a transcript that I would like to go back and look at and see exactly maybe what language they were talking about. But right now, court reporters and including the general public does not have access to these draft a jury charge instruction. So we're really kind of just out of luck. We're just having to follow maybe what Judge Rashawn and them are saying, and we're not able to follow along to exactly what is going on. So now, Emil Bove for the defense is arguing that the jury should be instructed that, quote, intent to fraud as used in the falsification of business record statute should not include, quote, intent to defraud the government. Rashawn, I'll reserve on that, but intent to defraud can extend beyond economic. Sorry here, beyond economic terms. That is what I ruled earlier, and that is the law. Okay. Yeah, that also goes back to the intent to fraud definition that Judge Mershon was just ruling on a few moments ago, that he was going to strike language. I believe it was, scroll down here just a little bit here. Reasonably foreseeable, and he was going to stick to a more standard version of that. I don't know the exact language that he is going to use, but I'm sure once we are able to view this on the docket, we will get a little more. So now another court reporter reports that he's concerned about the burden shifting. According Bove is Emma Bove for the defense. Bove takes issue with language in the instructions about what the government does not have to prove. He's concerned about the burden shifting. And that's something that we were just talking about earlier. Bove is arguing that the jury should be instructed that intent to fraud, as used in the falsification of business record statute, should not include intent to defraud the government. Okay, here's the exact quotes we have for you. Mershon, let's move on to intent to, hold up here. Intent to commit or conceal another crime. Bo then goes on to his argument here. The effect of giving this instruction is to bring attention to what they don't have to prove. What we received here is a risk of burden shifting and diminishing the burden that Your Honor has talked about on the prosecution. Let's see if do we have a ruling yet? We do not have a ruling yet for Judge Juan Mershon. We're going to wait. Oh, I believe we do. Maybe. Rashawn jumps ahead to the final one of the submission, which he says he's particularly concerned about. The defense wants to add with WRT to the second element. Intent to commit or conceal another crime. The people must establish barred two separate intents. The intent to defraud. And we're waiting for the other. I'm waiting for the other half of this message to come in. I believe we can also go take a look at the courtroom right now. Right outside the courtroom, it is pretty quiet, really. Not too much going on, just the court officers watching and looking to see exactly what may be going on. And we may actually head over back to the studio in a moment. There's our camera there. Not really too much going on. Oops. Not really too much going on there. I'm sure it's something we will view later. Well, I guess we could do this right here and show you everything that's going on. A lot is going on, really, though. Okay, I believe we have a new update, though. Okay, here's that. Yeah. Okay, I'll read this as I walk away from the camera here for just a moment. Rashawn jumps ahead to the final one on the submission, which he says he's particularly concerned about. The defense wants to add WRT to the second element. To the second element. Sorry, I need to stay still for a second. Intent to commit or conceal another crime. The people must establish barred two separate intents. The intent to defraud. Also, what is somebody in front of the camera here? No, it's just someone sitting right there. Okay, leaning right there. Okay. Sorry. To defraud and the intent to aid or commit another crime. There's nothing in the statute about, quote, two separate intents, says Colangelo. It would rewrite the statute. It appears to be semantic, but it's not. It's not, says Merchant. It would be material change in the statute as second mens rea. Okay. Another general impression from a court reporter. I want to read this here. There doesn't seem to be much contention between the sides in the hearing. They must have worked out quite a bit in private conference. We're moving briskly through the submission. I will have to agree with that. We're moving pretty quickly when it comes to all of this. Not moving too slow or too fast or anything of that nature. Sorry, guys. Just gotta move this here. Not moving too slow or too fast or anything. You're also able to see we have a view of everything that's going on. We got myself here, and then we got the court up there, and down there, Trump on the courtroom. So we are watching it all this right now. Jury charge conference is occurring, and we are watching that and seeing exactly what is going to occur later here. So. Okay, so Judge Mershon is agreeing with the prosecution. He thinks that it would be a material change to the statute to instruct the jury that there are two separate mens rea requirements. There's one intent to defraud, but that must include the intent to commit, aid, or conceal another crime. Colangelo says there's nothing. Okay, we already read that. Okay, sorry. Checking for updates. Any moment we do get a new update, you will be the first to know right here on Brooklyn News. We are going to jump to another commercial break, I do believe so. In just a moment, I'm being told. Okay. We are watching this trial as it all happens, and I've done it to myself again where I'm showing underneath here. You have to adjust the camera. Just a little bit. Sorry, guys. It happens. It just happens where I'm showing. Well, you guys are just seeing papers. That's all there. It's right here. Just papers over here. That's what you guys keep seeing. So, okay. Now we're. One moment here. Okay. New update. Maybe. Nope. No new update yet. When we come back, we are going to have so much more on the case. What are the prosecutors, I'm glad you said Donald Trump did. That's something I bet so many of you are so interested in. I'm Jackson Mitchell. Our continuing coverage of Trump in the courtroom. We'll be right back in our Tuesday special continuing version of the jury charge instructions. Without the jury, this is the beginning part for the jury to actually see it, but the jury charging conference occurs. We'll be right back right here on Brooklyn News. Stick with us. And welcome back to our continuing coverage of Trump in the courtroom. I'm Dr. Mitchell here at the big screen right now. Inside court, we are now talking about, or Judge Rashan and the defense and the prosecution are now talking about the proposed jury instruction on New York election law 1752. You know I had to look up what that election law was. It is on conspiracy to promote or prevent election. 17-152, conspiracy to promote or prevent election. Any two or more persons who conspire to promote to or prevent the election of any person to a public office by unlawful means in which conspiracy is acted upon one or more of the parties thereto shall be guilty of a misdemeanor. That's what I was just reading off, and that's what you saw. You saw a little behind the scenes of what it looks like when we were on commercial break just then. Just researching, looking at what's going on, continuing to get updates. So that's what the New York election law 17-152 is. Last update came about 2 minutes ago, and that's the latest that we're getting right now from the courtroom. This is our Tuesday special continuing edition of this. I want to thank all of you so much for joining us. It's a pleasure to be with you on this Tuesday afternoon at 3:27 Eastern Time, 2:27 Central Time. No new updates are really coming in right now. It's kind of gotten a little slower, but if you're just joining us, we're going to be talking about everything, why we're here. So happening now, jury charge conference. Trump in the courtroom coverage here on Brooklyn News. Of course, let me get this going. So again, what's happening is we are seeing, one moment here, let me check. Okay, no new updates. We are seeing jury charge conference, which is where they decide what the jury instructions will be for the jurors. Now, the jurors are not there, and they can't watch the news. Obviously, they can't do really a lot. They just have to really stick to the trial there. And basically, I want to talk to you a little bit about what this trial is for. What are we here for? Why are we doing this all? Sorry, I just got to grab a few documents. So the reason we are here, the reason we are sitting here doing this all, and I'm doing this coverage, is because the people of the state of New York, the state of New York, the people of the state of New York, the people, the DA's office, the Manhattan DA's office, indicted Donald Trump, accusing him of falsifying business records, 34 counts. But they want this to be a felony. And why they want this to be a felony is they say that he did it in order to influence the 2016 election that he did win. And that's when he was president from 2016 to 2019. Well, it'd be 2017 to 2020, realistic, or 2020, yeah. So that's what happened there. So that's really what's going on right now, and we're getting to the end of the trial part of this, and we're getting to the end of the trial here, and we're getting to where jury deliberations, closing arguments, or closing statements, then jury deliberations, and all that stuff is going to happen. And reporters seem very flustered that they do not have access to this. So another issue happening right now, I want to read this here. Quote, this is what Rashan says to both. Tell me about the two final paragraphs. Well, we can't see the two final paragraphs, so we really can't really talk about them and what's really going on here. So we're kind of just stuck. Now, other law reporters are saying in any other trial, these were made public and there was access that could have been made to them. So again, jury conference happening right now. I'm going to play a little music here. Same music we've been hearing all day. Oh. Don't everyone, excuse me, don't ever get too bored in here. Also, do all of you like this Marriott? Little Focus Marriott pen. It's a beautiful pin to have. From a hotel trip I took a few weeks ago. I wish there was so much more to report on, but there's not. Okay, I believe we might have a new update coming in. Okay. Nope, no new update. Currently, what's happening right now is no one has posted on the docket these these draft jury instructions, meaning they're not viewable, so there's not really much. We can't see them. The press cannot see them, meaning it's causing for a little bit of confusion when Rashawn is talking. And for this to be such a big case and then not to be publicized, it's kind of weird, you could say. But again, happening now, jury charge conference. I feel like I need to explain that again to anyone that's just joining us. It's where they make the jury instructions for the deliberations. So they have to define definitions, facts, and a bunch of other legal stuff like that. Okay, now we're on to instructions on the conspiracy election law step-up crime. The defense wants a, quote, mere presence instruction stating that a defendant's mere presence when others agree to engage in the performance, mere performance that engage in the performance of a crime that is not sufficient to show that defendant personally agreed to. I want to see what the prosecution wants here. Okay, Colangelo makes the point that this might confuse the jurors as the charges don't even require Trump himself agreed to a criminal conspiracy. It's sufficient if others engaged in a conspiracy and he falsified records with the intent to cover it up. Okay? Point very valid. Point very valid. I'm going to step out of the frame here for just a moment and move my, one moment here. One moment. Let's go over to the courtroom. Okay. That didn't happen in your eyes. I don't know what that was. I don't know who that was that came on. Don't know at all. Okay. Updates are really slow right now. That could be because we don't know what's going on. We're going to stand by for possibly this to be updated to the docket. Right now, it has not yet been updated to the docket, but we are going to take a quick break here on Brooklyn News, 30-second break to be exact here. We'll be right back for our coverage here on Brooklyn News. I am Jackson Mitchell. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Stick with us right here on Brooklyn News as our coverage of Trump in the courtroom continues right after the quick break. We're going to leave you on a shot of the courtroom. again, thanks for sticking with us so much. We are back right here on Brooklyn News, okay? Our continuing coverage is back of Trump in the courtroom. Let's take a look right outside that courtroom. Appears to be pretty quiet. The updates coming in right now. The importance of the case, and I'm quoting Mershon here, I'm quoting Colangelo for the prosecution. The importance of the case is not a basis for deviating from the standard application of the law, says Colangelo. There's no reason to rewrite the law for this case. Mershon agreeing with the prosecution. That's the latest update from the courtroom right now. You're watching Trump's courtroom special live coverage right here on Brooklyn News. I'm at the big screen where we're breaking down the facts and what's going down in the courtroom. We are going to continue our coverage when we return. Again, another second break ahead. Happening right now inside the courtroom, arguments over jury instructions, what they will be instructed during deliberations that are expected to happen late next week, Wednesday and Thursday to be exact. That's right, they're taking that off day and it's going to be inside the courtroom working this very high profile, not high profile, but high threat, high importance. Will they decide, will the 12 jurors decide that President Trump is guilty or not guilty? The question we all want to know. And really the question I want to know is, if he's found guilty, I mean, how many years in prison, or how many years of probation, or months of probation, or weeks of probation, or what will Trump be served with? What will Judge Mershon decide if he is found guilty? He is liable for. He is, I should say, charged with. That's something I think a lot of people want to know. Now, something we did learn today after the defense rests their case, Trump will not testify. That's what we heard there. The defense rests Trump not testifying in this case. So pretty, I don't know, expected, but I remember we listened to, I believe it was Alina Habba, the spokeswoman for Trump, and spokeswoman for Trump, or legal spokeswoman for Trump. She said, I'm paraphrasing here, but it was something to the nature of, he needs to listen to his lawyers. And I figure his lawyers were like, no. Because they remember when he got on the stand under Judge Engoron in that civil fraud case. Apparently it was for a short time and it was really rough according to people that were there. So we are right now getting very slow updates, and just while we're continuing our music and continuing to take kind of 30-second breaks, and I'm coming back, updating everyone on what is happening. So right now, as we continue our coverage right here on Brooklyn News of Trump in the courtroom, I believe they're talking People versus Mackey, that case on burglary statutes. They do not require prosecutors to identify which crime the alleged burglar intended to commit, to argue that he had no obligation to provide a bill of particulars specifying the object offenses. In this case that we're talking about right now, people being Trump. So updates are continuing to come in, I believe. Okay. Happening right now inside that courtroom, Trump's lawyer, Emil Wolf, invokes the, quote, importance of the case and what he described as the unprecedented use of statutes. Assistant DA Colangelo counters, quote, Your Honor, the importance of the case is not a reason to deviate from the standard application of the law. The defense objects to excluding tax law violation charges at all because there's insufficient evidence. Colangelo says the record refutes this claim, cites Weisselberg's handwritten notes on the First Republic banknote. Colangelo then continues, part of the intended concealment here was to camouflage the reimbursement as income. To do that, or as a consequence, they doubled it, grossed it up for tax purposes. That's tax fraud. Colangelo argues. We are going to continue our coverage. Again, the defense resting earlier today, Trump not testifying, but right now, argument between the defense, the prosecution, and the judge, really, over jury charge or jury instructions that will be given to them during deliberation. Now, closing arguments are expected to begin on Tuesday, while deliberation will last, however long they need, but Wednesday and Thursday is when that's expected to start. They're able to stay late on Tuesday, according to my knowledge. We'll be right back here on Brooklyn News with the latest on all of that. Trump in the courtroom. Keep your TV channel right here. Stay right here with Brooklyn News. We'll have so much more coverage. Thanks for watching. Time for coverage right after the break. Happening now, a key moment just occurring in this case. What Judge Juan Rashan said to Emil Bove. I'm going to read it out to you guys here. Judge Rashan to Trump lawyer Emil Bove just now during arguments on how to instruct the jury next week. Quote, what are you asking me to do is change the law. What you're asking me to do is change the law, and I'm not going to do that. End quote. I want to go to something else here. Another quote. Before this event occurred here, Bove said, quote, the problem with this theory and why it shouldn't go to the jury is that Cohen testified that he didn't know anything about it. Cites the transcript when Cohen says, quote, I don't know, to be honest. I didn't think about it. I just wanted to get my money back. Colangelo says he separately testified that it was grossed up because he was going to take it as income. There's complete excuse me, competing evidence we can present to the jury, but doesn't think that's necessary. Cohen also said the checks he received were reimbursements because of the retainer. We are going to have so much more coverage, though. If you're noticing something different we're doing here, we are just breaking them with updates rather than continually bringing you wall-to-wall coverage here. And I don't really want anything boring. So for this one, tomorrow, not tomorrow, but next week, we're going to have a behind-the-scenes shot to leave you guys on. But for now, we are going to have this shot right here. I'm going to leave you on my shot. I'm just going to mute myself and look at the notes, and you'll see me how it looks during a break. We'll be right back. Brooklyn News is coverage of Trump in the courtroom will, that's supposed to say return, stand by. This is return R. Okay, hold up, y'all. It's really hard to see from here. There we go. Our coverage will return in just a few moments. I'll leave you on a shot pretty much every day. Happening now inside courtroom 1530, or you are able to see outside of it right behind me, jury charge conference. I'm Jackson Mitchell. Welcome into our continuing coverage of Trump in the courtroom. We are going to be on the air, I expect, throughout the evening. Here it is 2:48 Central Standard Time, 3:48 Eastern Time. Right now, the charge conference going on. What is a jury charge conference, you may ask? Well, I read you this paragraph here, right here. Before closing arguments, a trial judge must conduct a conference to discuss proposed instructions out of the presence of the jury. The charge conference must be recorded. The purpose of the charge conference is to allow parties to discuss the proposed jury instructions to ensure that the legal issues are appropriately clarified in a manner that assists the jury in understanding the case and in reaching the correct verdict. I'll read that to you because it's important to know what is going on in this case, and that's what I'm here for, to let you know what's happening as it happens. Right now, though, the defense is arguing that the prosecution should not be allowed to submit its tax theory to the jury for purposes of the felony step-up object crime. Both sides' testimony from Cohen, in which Cohen said he didn't know why Weisselberg grossed up the reimbursement payment. Now, right now, we have seen a lot of citing. Oh, and it appears we may be taking a break or something of that nature. Maybe not. We may be taking a break in just a moment. If you notice something there, if you notice, this is how we know these things are happening, is because those gates are closed and things are changing. You can see a legal team walking out. You can't exactly tell who it is due to the lag there. I want to see if we can go back up to me here and see maybe who that was. They're leaving here. We just see the back of their faces. It appears to be. Is that the prosecution? I'll back out the frame here. Appears to be the prosecuting team. Pretty large team they have with them. Okay, that was just the prosecutors I saw, not the defense. I do not believe so. Oh, let's take 10 minutes. See you in 10. That's what's going on right now. They're taking a 10-minute break here. We are also going to take a very short break. When we come back, we're wrapping up what has occurred so far in this jury charge conference. I'm Jackson Mitchell. You have been watching Brooklyn News' coverage of Trump in the courtroom. Sorry, guys, something interesting happening right now. Oh, I think it's just the press. It's just the press coming out. Okay. Coverage here on Brooklyn News. Our turn in moments of Trump in the courtroom. I'm Jackson Mitchell. Welcome back in, everyone, to our coverage. You're watching there behind me, live right outside courtroom 1530, as they're taking a 10-minute break there from the jury charge conference where they're talking about what the jury instructions will be for deliberation. That's what you're seeing behind me. I believe we have got our feed fixed for this. I hope so, at least. No, it's still not fixed. Okay, I'm going to apologize for that. Our feed is having so much trouble. Behind me, you can see the exact same feed, just not so laggy or whatever's going on there. They have taken a 10-minute break. So, 1 minute. And you know what? I understand why. The nitty-gritty of things that are just kind of flustering because we cannot see what's going on at all. So, taking 10 minutes was well needed, I believe. We are going to continue our coverage here on Brooklyn News, though. I'm becoming an expert at these outfits at this point. Our coverage is going to continue of Trump in the courtroom right here on Brooklyn News. Stick with us. court just about to get fired up once again as jury charge conference continues to occur. Define jury conference, you may ask. Before closing arguments, a trial judge must conduct this conference. The charge conference must be recorded. Let's read the purpose, though. The purpose of the charge conference is to allow the parties to discuss the proposed jury instructions to ensure the legal issues are appropriately clarified in a manner that assists the jury in understanding the case and in reaching the correct verdict. That's right. That's exactly what a jury instruction is. I believe we have our feed fixed here as you watch the legal team. That appears to be Donald Trump's legal team there. Our feed's still not fixed. We are going to work to get that fixed for you guys. If we have to, we can watch it on our screen behind me. Not necessarily ideal, but you got to do what you got to do. We are going to... There's Donald Trump walking past. No handshake, no wave. That was Donald Trump Jr. there. No wave, no nothing. Just walking straight past. The sight we see very often. And he's probably tired. I think we're all tired. We've been doing this all day, covering this all day, and then when we have a break, and sorry guys, it's really loud in my ear. And then when we have a break, it's not much really goes on. So let me cut that. So right now, jury charge conference is happening. We are fixing to get fired back up. When we read, no new updates just yet. I mean, they're just walking back in, so should see things start firing back up any moment now. I want to read a piece of a transcript here from yesterday from witness Robert. Hold up here. From witness Robert Costello. I want to read a piece here that it got a little fiery, you could say. Fiery, you could say also, in the courtroom. Okay. Yes, yeah, I see that. What do you mean by that? Then there's an objection. Sustained. Yes, strike it. G's and yes, strike it. There's two things that Robert, sorry about this, that Robert, my paper's out of order, that Robert Costello said and made the Judge Merchan really fiery and ended up actually kind of giving it a little bit of a warning here. I'll step out of the frame here so you can get a full view of outside courtroom. 15:30 right now. Those two officers standing there. We're just waiting right now for everything to get fired back up. This is just such a long and a little bit of a boring process when things aren't on the docket for you to read. I wonder if maybe, I don't know who puts things on the docket. I'm assuming a court assistant or something of that nature. We may have gotten that. Okay, another thing just happened here. I want to read this off. We remain seated as Merchan walked back to the stand. Vote first. Some instructions defense requested first. Oh, sorry. First, a limiting instruction about a bias modified from the Trump or trial Merchan presided over. And I'm really just going to leave you guys on the shot for a little bit. So I can step away for just a second and get a little work done here. Or attempt to fix the shot, I guess you could also say. Because we are having some major technical difficulties with that shot for some reason. Let me check over here on that. I'm going to check on that shot, and I'm going to have to put it up on the air, so. Maybe fixed, I really can't tell. I don't know, we'll have to use it when Trump walks out to speak again. And maybe just because my devices are getting really, really hot and overheated. You can see another member of the, I think, I believe he may be actually for prosecution. Walking through there. Journalist. I think the overflow room is the other way, and the courtroom is down that hallway to the right at the back there. That's what I believe because we keep seeing people walking each an opposite way there. Now, right now, jury charge conference is going on where they decide basically what the jury instructions are during that time. During that time. So that's what we kind of have to wait and see kind of what happens there. Wait and see what happens there. So right now you're taking a look at the kind of the behind the scenes view here that we see pretty often. The hallway and the outside of courtroom 1530. We're waiting for updates right now. If any do come in, we'll bring them to you first here. Juan Rashawn took the stand moments ago without no one had to stand up during the time that he took the stand like they usually would. Like the court officer would usually ask for the guests, the press, the defendants, and the prosecutors to all stand up. So happening right now, Stein class continues. Hold up here, let me catch up here. Steinglass says he doesn't think this charge is necessary. The boy Dyer satisfied this problem and says it was more appropriate in the Trump org because Trump was the defendant there. So it was actually about keeping him out of it. Now, this was an argument over sub-instructions. Defense requested first limiting instruction over a bias he's modified from the Trump organization trial that was that Michael Cohen presided over, I should say. Rashawn accepts the people's modified version, which Steinglass continues that when instructing the jury, saying that they shouldn't hold bias against the defendant is unnecessary. Standard charges cover this. Judge says they will include the people's version of the bias instructions. Next up is a curative instruction on hush money payments, instructing the jury that it's not a crime. What the defense is asking for you to make their is for you to make their argument for them in a jury charge. It's totally inappropriate, says Steinglass. Rashawn agrees that would take it too far. And let's go back up to our camera up there. Okay, new update, I believe so. Nope, no new update. Okay, sorry. False alarm. Let's go back here. No new update, I don't believe so. Let me change something really quickly. Okay, and while we wait for continuous updates in the jury charge conference, live updates will be popping up at the bottom of your screen continuously as we will return in just a few moments on this interesting day here. Outside, according to others, and the UV is also pretty high. Let's check that right now before we go to break. The UV is, where is it? 7 right now, according to Apple Weather. So, okay, weather to go tan. If you're one of those, I just know that I was told that someone's going tanning. Okay, we'll be right back here on Brooklyn News of our continuing coverage of Trump inside the courtroom. I'm Jackson Mitchell. Stick with Brooklyn News. We'll have the latest on everything you need to know on this whole trial. There's so much to break down and so much to talk about. and welcome back to our continuing coverage right here on Brooklyn News of everything involving the Trump trial. That's right, Trump in the courtroom. Coverage begins and continues, I should say, right now. Happening now inside the courtroom. 1350 is the jury charge conference. Sorry, it's 1530. That's the courtroom number. Thank you. Latest update here we can bring you right now. The defense wants to limit instruction about certain reactions to the Access Hollywood tape. Things like the RNC's reaction to the Access Hollywood tape. The defense wants the judge to instruct jurors that the evidence didn't come in for truth of the matter asserted. Rashawn, this has come up in the Marshawn saying, talking about a illegal hush money payment. They're not going to put that in the jury instructions, but rather argue that in closing that it is not illegal. I think that's a really good point to argue in closing argument to the defense that this is not illegal to pay someone hush money. Steinglass disagrees about limiting instruction about certain reactions to the Access Hollywood tape, things like the RNC's reactions we were just talking about. Steinglass disagrees. The fact that there were reactions to the Access Hollywood tape are probative of the impact on the listener, meaning the defendant, referring to, like, for example, they were John McCain withdrawing his endorsement. Live coverage is going to continue right here on Brooklyn News, though. We are going to continue doing things like this in our slower periods of time. We're going to continue taking continuous breaks here. So we will be right back when an update arrives. You're the first to know. You're watching Brooklyn News. It's Jump in the Courtroom coverage. Marshawn saying, right now, I'm agreeing with the people. Welcome back to Brooklyn News' Trump in the courtroom coverage. We're talking about an argument over instruction over the Access Hollywood tape revolving around reactions such as the RNC's reaction after the Access Hollywood tape correction was released. Right now, I'm in agreement with the people, Judge Marshawn says, but he wants to go back and look at the transcripts to see how the evidence came in at the time it was introduced. Colangelo arguing, quote, the key point here is to advise the jury that there has to be some unlawful means, but they don't have to unanimously agree on the unlawful means. Steinglass calls one of proposed defense lines outrageous. That defense line there being, quote, AMI did not admit to any violations of the law in those agreements. I wasn't trying to be outrageous, Bob says. We are going to continue our coverage right here on Brooklyn News, though. As soon as this break ends, we'll be breaking in when updates come, because happening now inside courtroom 1530, jury charge conference, where they decide the instructions the jury will receive after closing arguments. happening right now inside courtroom 1530 on 100th Century Street in New York City. Jury charge conference is what's happening. But inside that jury charge conference, they're discussing Cohen's guilty plea or AMI's non-prosecution agreement is evidence of Trump's guilt. And Mershon says that he intends to give essentially the same instruction that he gave during the trial. Steinglass does not intend to use either as evidence of Trump's guilt. Our continuing coverage, we will break in anytime any new update comes in, making sure you receive the latest information. I want to apologize for anyone. If the updates were faster and things were coming in so slow at a time like this, I would be talking much faster and getting things done. But I'm getting stuff behind the scenes, getting things ready for later, because I know we do have Donald Trump is expected to speak after the trial. But actually, what we can do, as we wait for just a moment, we cut some things off here. As we do wait for just a moment, we are able to play this video, I do believe. Oh, that is the wrong thing. This video of a press conference that's happened soon after the 10 o'clock hour the people who came to in support of Trump in that trial, which you can see there on your screen. You can look at them for just a moment. I'll keep on for just a second here as we talk, but they held a press conference. Many of them did speak there on the bottom of your screen. We have a piece of that. I think we are able to show you. So let's go ahead and go over there to Donald Trump Jr.
What's going on here is an absolute farce, and anyone in America should be embarrassed at the absolute miscarriage of justice that we're seeing here. There's no crime. The only problem is the witnesses who are experts in these things aren't allowed to actually testify to that because you have a rigged system.
Equal protection under the law is a most fundamental bedrock constitutional principle of American jurisprudence. What I just saw in this courtroom is a complete miscarriage of justice. We cannot have judges who are wearing the same jersey as the prosecution.
He goes on to say we cannot have them wearing the same jersey as the prosecution there. As we are all watching this happening now, jury charge conference there, where we're going to keep a look at there inside that. We'll keep what we're looking at right now, this view right here. That's what they said after the court. Many of the others spoke. We just only kept it very sweet, short, simple for all of you. New updates coming in right now. We turn to proposed instruction on involvement of counsel. Door was opened by government on direct of Cohen and Pecker relating to the McDougal agreement and a description of it as bulletproof, which suggested it had been vetted by counsel. Okay. I'm going to stick with this shot, I do believe, though. And we'll just have our music playing if we can. Stick with the shot. Well, if we can't do that, can't we? We'll be right back. Welcome back into our live coverage happening now. Argument over biases. As we continue the jury charge conference, we are going to end. That is where our breaks are going to end right there. We're not going to have any more just continuous breaks there because I know it's getting really boring for all of you guys. So happening right now inside that trial. Katie Fang from MSNBC says they want us to wonder about what they look like and actually say. I agree, and apparently Bob inside there keeps pronouncing fika, fika, versus the more common fika. Yeah, I've pronounced it fika on the air, not fika. I wonder what the actual language of that is. Is that actually 100% correct there? We are waiting for live updates as we have been, I feel like, for days. Just waiting for updates from all of the courtroom reporters, and I apologize. I want to apologize for that noise if you heard anything. I believe we're back. Okay. Trump in the courtroom is what we're calling this. We are going to have much more for you tomorrow. I'm going to be working on it tonight. Or not tomorrow, but for Tuesday, we're going to have much more graphics and different things to show you all. You're probably going to get tired of it because we have hours and hours of coverage ahead of us still. It is 3:25, 4:25 there, so I assume they should be wrapping up any moment now. Now, on Tuesday, it's expected to go late into the night for their closing arguments. There is no new updates right now, since about 3 minutes ago, and that's really rare for them to be no new updates in 3 minutes. But right now, the last argument was about the Federal Election Commission Act. That is the argument that we are hearing right now. If you will stand by with me. Hold up here. I'm gonna stack my papers properly. So I'm a little more organized. For once in my lifetime. Let's go over. There's a shut out my living room there. Let's go over to the courthouse there. See what's nothing too complex appears to be going on right there. We'll be waiting to see if anything does happen right there. So okay, so they're arguing about whether Trump can basically get an instruction on what's eventually an advice of counsel light defense. We've been here before. Justice Rashawn has rejected this kind of approach during pre-trial proceedings. So we'll have to see kind of what happens, what goes on here. We are waiting now to see if anything. What Judge Rashawn's ruling on that does end up being, as you take a look there, live at the courthouse, right outside the room we've all been watching, the room we've all been looking at all day, it feels like. But the updates are coming really, really slowly. Okay, new update here. Volv says our next request is on page 6 relating to a limiting instruction about hush money payments and how they are not inherently illegal. So that's where we are now on page 6 and still don't have access to any of it, so still waiting for that. Okay, okay. Justice Rashawn Dan LeBeau, we've been here before. My answer hasn't changed, and I understand the argument that you're making. My ruling is the jury will not hear that instruction from the bench, and the jury will not hear the argument. Now, that argument over um uh one moment here. Okay, that argument over a limiting instruction, um, a limiting instruction. One moment. Sorry, I'm trying to piece things together on okay, which says that the agreement can be used by the jurors to access Pecker's credibility and the surrounding context slash circumstances, but it can't be used as substantial evidence of Trump's guilt or innocence there. Both respond to the disingenuous remark, trying to explain himself, but the judge shuts it down. This is an argument you've been advancing for many, many months. Mershad points out, adding later, it's denied. Please don't raise it. Todd Blanche now leans over and is whispering in Trump's ear. Trump leans back, crosses his arms. So what we have, okay, I've never seen an instruction like this. It's certainly not in the CJI, and it's also just flat out wrong, Steinglass says in response to a jury instruction proposed by the defense related to a cell phone call and messaging app evidence. Steinglass adds, quote, I would suggest those arguments be based in the actual record and not the imagery record. And the idea was to get this all done by today. So I don't know if it's going to be a late night or what here or what is going to occur here. Are they going to adjourn and we come back either Wednesday or Thursday, depending if they want Wednesday off? Let's see here. Because it is 4:32 and they usually adjourn somewhere around 5. Still waiting here if we have any language coming in. waiting to see if we have any new information coming out of the court. Right now, we have been on the air now for, let me check here. I'm sorry, guys, I'm not in front of the camera here. I'm getting back in front of the camera right now. For 1 moment. 2 hours and 34 minutes. We are going to take a quick break. We'll have so much more when we return as we are waiting for more information to come out of the courtroom. We're following so many sources. That's why sometimes it gets a little confusing, but we're following so much more information. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back in here. Steinglass has just requested an instruction on the retainer agreements through their cross of 3 separate witnesses. Defense, the defense suggesting that the retainer agreements don't have to be in writing. Steinglass says, directing the judge to 12, 50. Sorry, guys, I'm just 1215.1, I believe. Hold up here. I'll read it out to you guys here. If we can, I'll leave should you camera there's 12.1 from nycourts.gov, a popular website that we often all journalists should have visited by this point. Effective March 4, 2002, an attorney who undertakes to represent a client and enters into an arraignment for charges or collect any fee from a client shall provide to the client a written letter of engagement before coercing the representation or within a reasonable time. Therefore, if otherwise impracticable, or if the scope, well, one moment. Please stand by with me to fix this. Okay. Back to reading this. Okay. If otherwise impracticable, or if the scope of services to be provided cannot be determined at this time of commencement or of representation for purposes of this rule, where an entity engages an attorney to represent as a third party, the term client shall mean the entity that engages the attorney. And they were just talking about here, if we can go. They were just talking about their instruction on the retainer agreement. Talking about a letter. Our continued coverage is going to be right back. Our breaking news coverage of Trump in the courtroom. I am Dr. Mitchell. Thanks for joining me. Right now, coming into our newsroom. Steinglass moves to an instruction. The people want on retainer agreements. The defense improperly elicited testimony that misstated the law of retainer agreements in New York. Steinglass said. He points the defense asking Cohen about whether one needs a retainer agreement there. Whether one needs a retainer agreement to represent a client under NY ethics rules. We were just reading that ethics rule before we took a break, and it basically says if you're representing a client, they need. It was pointing to a certain document there. So much very interesting things going on right now. It's getting a little on the more boring side of things, we still do have that feed we are waiting for. It's unknown if it's going to just be a late day for the fact of okay, now Steinglass is pointing to a New York rule that he says supports the prosecution's argument on this point, but both hands up case law that he supports the opposite. In one of the cases he quotes, for example, the court wrote that the uh, existence of an attorney-client relationship is not dependent on the sorry about that the dependent on the existence of a retainer agreement. This is the government seeking to put weight on their argument, both says, and in any event that the government's own witnesses testified to. We are going to stick with the shot that I'm on right now, and we will be right back. Welcome back. We are following updates as they come in on this day. It is May 21st, Tuesday at 3:46 p.m. Central Time, 4:46 Eastern Time. We're sticking with this shot that you're looking at right now as we take a look at that courthouse. We are going to attempt here and go over to the live shot that's not with me in it. There you go. It's a little glitchy here. We're going to fix that, though. We're working on it. Just please stand by with us. You're waiting to see what happens here. If the government maybe will adjourn or kind of what happens there. Don't know, but Justice Sean says, I'll read the rules, I'll read the decisions, I'll get back to you on that. We're going to make every effort to get jury charges to you by Thursday, he says. Thank you. So does that mean they are going to adjourn? Stand by. Let's see here what kind of happens. It appears they may be doing so because now, or something's going on. There's a hallway full of people now, and you've been watching that there. We can go over to this shot with me and I now, I believe so, and listen in for just a second here. Let's go ahead and listen in. They have locked it as if it looks like they evacuated the court again, how they did in earlier times. Let's see what's going on here. No new update from any reporters. There's Trump walking out. Let's listen in here. We're going to have to watch it through the TV here.
anything like it. Stephen Calabrese is an outrage that this entire part of this case. The judge did not declare a mistrial for having expected Stephen Calabrese. It says an outrage that the district attorney brought this case and the judge did not declare a mistrial. And everybody said, in one form or another. Any authority, what they have, this kind of a case is that the federal prosecutors at my old office in Southern District of New York wouldn't take it in the first place. They would not take it. The Southern District turned down this case. And the case that Cy Vance looked at and wouldn't take it, and the case that Grant himself looked at in 2022 and shut down. And this is what we've been wasting all this time on. Alan Dershowitz, I've observed and participated in trials throughout the world. I have seen justice and injustice in China, Russia, Ukraine, England, France, Italy, Israel, as well as in nearly 40 or 50 states. But in my 60 years as a lawyer and a law professor, I have never seen a spectacle such as the one I observed sitting in the front row of the courthouse. I've never seen anything like it. He's been a great lawyer, great legal scholar for years, and he's never seen anything like it. It's all politics, so if anyone tells you otherwise, they're not lawyer. Let me just tell you that the White House is the person or group, whatever. They're the one trying this case. You heard who was doing all the talking. Representative from the White House just recently. This is all about Biden can't campaign, so he's trying to injure his opponent. They're trying to hurt the opponent because they can't win it fair and square. It's all fair. There's a lot of terms for it. It's a third world country way of campaigning. Such a disgrace. So sad to see what's happened to our country. Our country is going to hell under Biden. But look at the person. Why don't you look at the person that argued their case through almost the entire case? Look at the person. Where did he come from? Unbelievable. He came from Biden. And I know it's Biden because I don't think Biden has any idea what the hell's happening. But it's from the fascists that circle in the Oval Office. They circle the Resolute test, the beautiful Resolute test that's being staked out. My New York campaign finance law is extraordinarily complicated. Back in 2013, in an oral argument, Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia said this campaign finance law is so intricate that I can't figure it out. And what he's referring to is the fact that we had a legal expert, the number one expert on campaign finance law, who wasn't allowed to participate. He wasn't allowed to participate. They said he can't be a witness unless you wanted to talk about what's the definition of the law. You couldn't talk to him about anything else. Greg Garrett, this trial is now officially a sad and pathetic joke. It's a crime. Mershon and Brad are the head clowns. It should be patently obvious to all that the leading Republican candidate for president is on trial, not for what he has done, but for who he is. Trump is the potential nemesis of the Democrats. By the way, I've just gotten out of court. I haven't even seen this until I'm reading it to you now for the first time. I haven't even looked it over. I'm just giving it to you because everybody says the same thing. Brain loathes them. I'm so surprised. And so does Mershon, loathes me. The judge hates Donald Trump. Just take a look. Take a look at him. Take a look at where he comes from.
I believe we're having some technical difficulties here. What a beautiful face to be stopped. Okay, we're back.
I understand that I don't even have any reliance on counsel. I can't rely on this guy was counsel. I don't have any reliance on counsel. I might be the only one ever that doesn't have reliance on counsel. We have so many bad decisions. This guy, everything we ask for, we get nothing. So he says, Biden despises Trump, Bragg loves him, and so does Bishop, but it's all the same group, who has taken it upon himself to serve up as the co-prosecutor in the case. This is from the great Greg Jarrett, very talented guy. It's a persecution, not a prosecution of any legitimacy. Bragg has abused his position of power and spent tens of millions of dollars of taxpayer funds. You see how many people from his office all there, while people are being mugged and killed outside? Never saw anything like it in my life. Nobody has. Bragg has abused his position of power and spent tens of millions of dollars to denigrate an electoral enemy. I'm the enemy, but to denigrate an electoral enemy to benefit his opponent, President Joe Biden, commonly known as Crooked Joe. The DA falsely asserts that Trump unlawfully tried to influence the 2016 election, but it is Bragg who is guilty of interfering in the 2024 election. They're doing it in 2024 just like they did in 2020. Can you imagine with all of the wrongdoing that we found and that you know existed? They're coming after me for election interference? That's the classic of all. That's the classic of all. Tom Fitton, the sham Democrat Party prosecution of Trump may be collapsing in New York, but the process is the punishment as Trump is held a political hostage for weeks in this kangaroo court proceeding in the middle of a presidential election. The show trial has already compromised the election. They're already cheating on the election with this. And you don't know what's happening because the judge is so biased, so corrupt, he's so corrupt, and he's so conflicted that you never know how these things. I'd rather have Irish judges. But a corrupt judge will far surpass a great case for us. When you have a corrupt judge, lots of bad things happen. Katie Chirowski, this is such an embarrassment of a showing of prosecution that I imagine the judge wouldn't grant the motion to dismiss the case. You can't imagine it. There has been no evidence. There's no evidence and there's no crime. There's no crime. Everybody says there's no crime. Where's the crime? And these are your top legal scholars. Doug Schoen and Carly Cooper are finding, and he's a very big number, I don't even know what he's going to say, I'm reading it now for the first time, are finding the large pluralities or outright majorities of Americans perceive these indictments as politically motivated should be a warning sign to the Democrats. These are Democrats that wrote it, Doug Schoen. John Yoo, I'm not sure there isn't going to be backfire on prosecution having a judge who's so aggressively on their side. He is so aggressively on their side, but he has to be. He has to be. The American people see this trial as a complete sham. Well, so far they have, because I'm leading Crooked Joe Biden by a lot. They thought they could take me out with this. And don't forget, I have like 8 of them going. This is one. I have others going too, and we're doing very well in them. So this goes on and on. There's not one person, legal scholar, that think this is of merit. Now, I haven't reviewed everything, but I can see none. The ones when you hear Mark Levin, likewise, a phenomenal statement. A sham, a disgrace to America. All great legal scholars. Andy McCarthy, many documents, many papers written by Andy McCarthy, somebody I respect. But he's tough and he's legit. And he says, this is terrible what's going on. It's terrible what's happening to our country. Mark Thiessen wrote likewise. Terrible what's happening to our country. It's an embarrassment, and it's so sad. And I appreciate you listening, but I just watched something go in there, and you have to look at the man that did all the talking. Who's representing? He wasn't in the DA's office. He wasn't in there. He came in for one reason. And where did he come from? He came from Washington, D.C., the White House and the DOJ. And he argued the case. That means it's Biden. That means it's election interference by Sleepy Joe, our dumb as a rock president, who's destroying our country with the borders and destroying our country with the worst economy, worst inflation, who allowed Russia to go in to attack Ukraine, who allowed Israel to be attacked, and now he's not even helping Israel. And Jewish people that go for Biden and the Democrats, they should have their head examined. Thank you very much.
So why are you going to Bronx?
Mr. Trump, were you referring to Matthew Colangelo? Were you referring to the assistant district attorney?
Mr. President, why did you testify?
Always want to listen in there for just a few moments as we listen in to see if the president chooses to answer any questions. Now, from what we have seen, he has not really been one to answer questions from the press, especially after. And behind me, he is still talking. We wanted to apologize to all of you for the technical difficulties that did occur earlier. We're listening in there, the president and his team walking behind. Props to Todd Blanche. Each press conference I have watched with him, he has been able to keep a straight face. I think we've lost that Ruber shot button that's going to be behind us here in just a moment. I believe we have lost it. Stand by with me here. We're going to lose it here in just a second. So if I can, I'm going to show you a little bit behind the scenes stuff on accident here, but we are going to lose that camera there. But something to notice here is that, there we go. Okay, something to note here that I feel that I need to note is Todd Blanche. In each of these press conferences, he has kept up. I mean, he has no facial expressions. He's just and it's also become a routine for President Trump in each of these press conferences to read a bunch of legal scholars, just legal experts. Really, he'll just read what they are saying in the news. Now there are still. I mean, he's not reading any that are against him, but there are ones that are, in this case, ruling the prosecution is right. So we do have to point that out, that it's not just the defense that these legal experts are ruling for. I've watched many other news organizations about the legal experts on their air that have said, prosecution's right. Okay, so I believe that is going to wrap up our coverage for the day. They are going to be back Tuesday for closing argument and are expected to be done with the everything else on Thursday with the jury instructions, the proper jury instructions. So until then, this has been Trump in the courtroom continuing everlasting, it feels like, coverage here on Brooklyn News. I want to thank all of you so much for joining me in this time of just absolute, sometimes at time boredness, but also interesting. Join me at this time, but we've seen so many interesting things. I'm Jackson Mitchell. Thanks for watching Trump in the Courtroom. Have a wonderful day, all of you.